Hi, my name is Patty Moore. I'm an independent journalist living in the United States. As an American, I feel it's my responsibility to better understand and share how the United States, what the role of the United States is in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Today, I'm here with Elijah Magnier. He's a journalist with expertise in the Middle East and covering conflict and resolution. I noticed that you recently wrote about the Biden's president, the U.S. president, proposed ceasefire agreement. So let's start there.
It's a roadmap to an enduring ceasefire and the release of all hostages. This proposal has been transmitted by Qatar to Hamas. This new proposal has three phases. The first phase would last for 6 weeks. Here's what it would include: a full and complete ceasefire, a withdrawal of Israeli forces from all populated areas of Gaza, release of a number of hostages, including women, the elderly, the wounded, in exchange for release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. Of course, there'll be differences on the specific details that need to be worked out. That's natural.
First of all, what Biden has announced was an Israeli roadmap. It is not an American one. It is an Israeli plan that America approves, and Biden only quoted a few parts of the road plan, and he said it is composed of three phases, and then he gave few hints of each one because it is quite complicated. So the first phase, he said, it is a lasting ceasefire. It is not a permanent ceasefire. The difference between lasting and permanent: lasting can be violated by one of the two parties. A permanent ceasefire is something that is permanent and no one can violate it. So, and he says that it is composed of the first phase, that's a lasting ceasefire for 6 weeks' time. And if the 6 weeks are not enough, then they can be expanded. He also offered some more details, saying that the Israelis will withdraw from all the inhabited area. Now, that is a tricky one, because the inhabited area, it means not from all of Gaza, but from the areas where there are no houses. Now, half of Gaza doesn't have any more a house. The Israelis have destroyed most of Gaza. But above all, they have destroyed a big part around Gaza and also extended to the Netzarim corridor that divides the north of the south. Even today, they have blew up 70 houses in the Netzarim corridor, making it all an uninhabited area. So is he indicating these areas or how Gaza was before, and then the Israeli would withdraw from the known non-inhabited area prior the 7th of October? So that's not clear.
Well, it sounds a bit disingenuous. It sounds like there are large portions where they would with the military, the IDF would remain under this plan. One of the things I noticed, or at least I didn't hear, was much discussion about a system of allowing the international law address some of the major issues that have occurred, bringing war crimes to justice. That's an area of interest for me, is the rules-based order, system of justice, international law. Without that, in my view, without that, how can you possibly have security? I mean, if you're only going to allow savagery to address, if you consider that to be justice, how can there be security? I know you followed very closely the World Court, the International Court of Justice as well, probably the International Criminal Court. Can we discuss some of those cases?
Yes, of course.
The World Court has at least 3 cases pending, in my understanding. They have the case on genocide, the case on the occupation itself, and they also have a separate case on Jerusalem as the capital. The case on the occupation itself was just a few months ago, and I know you. I listened in on a interview with you where you commented a great deal on that. Of those cases, do you think those will go forward? Do you think there's a chance for international law to diffuse some of the issues within the conflict?
From the very beginning of this war, international laws have been violated. When we hear the Israeli officials, in particular the defense minister, calling the Palestinians animals, demonizing them, and announcing that he will cut water, electricity, food supply, medical supply, that is already a war crime and a crime against humanity. So these 2 crimes, there is no need to prove them because there are thousands of proof provided by the Israelis themselves. Mm-hmm. What is at the stake now is that the International Court of Justice finds that it is eligible to dig more and look for more proof for the Israeli intent of genocide. That's more difficult to prove and has always been difficult to prove, unless like a case in Rwanda and in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Now, the problem is not the proof that the Israelis have committed genocide. The problem is who is going to implement the international laws. The Americans are full partners with the Israelis. They are aware of the crimes that have been committed. President Biden came out and said several months ago that there are more than 30,000 Palestinians that have been killed, mostly children. Mm-hmm. So the collective punishment and the disproportionality in conflict is a war crime and a crime against humanity. It is something that the Americans have recognized. Nevertheless, the Americans, because of their very close strategic alliances with the Israelis, are not going to allow Israel to be judged. At the end of the day, the International Court of Justice doesn't have an army or a police. It needs to go to the United Nations Security Council. And this is, again, there is an American trap where if the Americans, and the Americans will use the veto, then the Israelis will get away with it. However, there is a public opinion, there is the world opinion that understand what's happening. Using the veto doesn't mean that Israel did not commit these crimes. Therefore, Israel will be judged by the people. And that is enough, because at the end of the day, the judgment of countries is only possible when, as the UK Prime Minister told the prosecutor of the International Court, a criminal court, Karim Khan, that this court has been made only for the African and for Putin, but not for the Western club. So that is this people's justice, what we are looking for to see. And we really, as a population, don't have a lot of faith in the international system that can bring justice.
It's really a fascinating time when that system, which has been put forward as an idea, that the idea has been put forward that the United States is supporting rules-based order, and it's now we see the cover-ups, and we see the actual attacks against these institutions as they are trying to bring justice. So it is it's quite fascinating to watch and concerning. I mean, without a system of justice, how can there be any kind of civil discussion and civil, disagreements allowed and civil behavior? I'm glad you brought up the International Criminal Court, which is separate from, as you know, separate from the World Court, because there have been two huge announcements. First, the announcement that they put forward, or they're requesting arrest warrants for both Israeli and Hamas leaders concerning the conflict. And then there was the issue that came out recently, that the former chief prosecutor was under Israeli surveillance and pressure for a period of 10 years to try to suppress an investigation into the Palestinian territories. Were you surprised when they came out with their with their announcement that they plan on asking for arrest warrants?
Well, in I think 2002, the American Congress has put a law that was agreed that the Americans can and has the right to invade The Hague, the Netherlands, to arrest the members of the International Court. So the prosecutor himself was under heavy sanctions by Mike Pompeo in 2020, when Pompeo was the Secretary of State, and he put restriction on her bank accounts. No country in Europe dared to deal with her anymore. She was completely isolated, and the sanctions were imposed not only on her, but any entity, company, bank, anything that deals with the International Criminal Court prosecutor. So if you put these two together, you understand that the Americans, as the Speaker of the Congress said the other day, that there is no law above the American law. So it is a clear recognition that the international law doesn't apply on American citizens and on America. This allows America to do whatever it wants, and the law, it says, the Congress law that allows America to invade The Hague includes Americans' allies, but not only America. And Israel is one of these main allies. Therefore, we do not expect the Americans to implement any international laws. And as you rightly said, we live in a kind of a jungle where we have a cherry picking. International laws applies exactly as in 2018, when Rex Tillerson, as a Secretary of State, received a memo saying that international laws and human rights are applicable only to countries who are not friends of the US, like China, Russia, Iran, Korea, and are not applicable on the friends of the United States. You find it on Politico Memo 2018. So we have so many information given by the American administration and the Congress that international laws do not apply on America and its allies. And in the light of this information, then what's happening today is Israel and America have lost the narrative on social media where people speak. It is the population, it is the people around the world that are themselves judging what happened. It is the students at campuses in various universities in the United States and in Europe who are standing against their ruling system, saying you cannot continue violating international laws. And the last point here I would like to make is the main outcome of the university campuses' behavior and reaction to the Israeli crimes. We're talking about the future leaders of the world. The people, main universities, the most prestigious universities, that their parents are also part of the administration around the world. They are the leaders today, and their children will be the leaders of tomorrow. They have much more awareness of what's happening than their parents. And this is what is creating a real fear in the US administration and among the European leaders.